While we usually turn a blind eye to the intentional passing of a villain in superhero movies, there's one certain offence that's never forgivable under any circumstance: bullying.
Oh, stop crying, punk ass. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. There's a reason we need superheroes, because they're the ones who can save us from the OP versions of bullies that torment the very nature of our existence. Okay, that may have been a little bit too deep, but at least not in a gross octopus-loving way.
Just feelings. It's okay.
Well, thankfully for you, the TV Regent has decided to back itself up on these claims by giving you the top 25 moments when superheroes dealt with bullies.
Okay, let's go.
I'm gonna slather you up in Navi and jelly. Go to town.
Leave it to James Gunn to turn an underrated underdog of a film into one of the most successful sub-franchises of the MCU. The Guardians of the Galaxy did a lot of things right with their formula, and the timing of its humour was what stayed on with the fans. Of course, that doesn't mean that there wasn't any serious or dangerous moments in the movie. Take the time when Star-Lord was going to turn into a juicy piece of booty for all the inmates at Kiln. Luckily for Chris Pratt, he had his buddies Rocket Raccoon and Groot stepping in and making light work of that blue weirdo who wanted to initiate the proceedings. Yeah, it's mostly Groot who's doing the heavy lifting, but I think we all know it's a team effort whenever he and Rocket are involved. Plus, you gotta give him props for making sure Star-Lord knew his booty only belonged to the Guardians. It's a neat scene that makes sure nobody messes with the Guardians in prison. Groot is so brutal in his treatment of the alien bully that you almost feel sorry for him by the time his nose is violated. Of course, there's also the savage statement that Rocket Raccoon delivers, which should actually be one of the top lines from the MCU.
Let's make something clear. This one here's our booty. You want to get to him, you go through us. Or, more accurately, we go through you.
The only way this could have been more badass would be Rocket saying something like, "We're not locked in with you, you're locked in here with us."
I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me!
Are you crying? I haven't even kicked your ass yet.
Yeah, Scott Summers may have a mouth on him, but it's his eyes that always get the job done. Unless he's with Jean Grey. I'm pretty sure that mouth would be working overtime under those circumstances, eh? Anyway, this is supposed to be a PG-13 video, so let's look at the time Cyclops gained his powers and gave his bully Jonathan a lesson that he'd never forget. To be honest with you, if I were to consider the classroom sequence, then I'm not sure who the real bully is here, you know? Jonathan can be allowed to worry about Scott winking at his girl, but then for Cyclops to fire back by saying he looks old enough to be a father, that was a savage burn. That too, without using his laser eyes.
You winking at my girl?
Yes, there was panic.
Your girl?
There's still some prejudice.
I guess you do look old enough to be your father.
Now, the bathroom scene that follows is more accurate in terms of who needed to be rescued, and in this case, Scott releases a different kind of burn. The flickering of the lasers in his eyes was a nice little trick to include, and I have to give it to the effects team for making it look as realistic as possible. But what I don't understand though, is the fact Scott's lasers are enough to blast through the concrete wall and ceiling, but the bathroom stall door managed to withstand it. Maybe it's made from the same material as Scott's eyelids.
Call me an asshole. One more time.
Listen, a bully is a bully, even if he happens to be a little kid standing up against a literal superhero. I mean, you remember that scene from Silicon Valley where Richard got bullied by a bunch of kids? Yeah, this is exactly why this complete jerk of a kid totally deserved what he got in 2008's Hancock. Listen, I know Will Smith hasn't found public favour since the Chris Rock incident, but he was one of Hollywood's hottest stars at this point in his career, so seeing him throw a child into the sky was definitely not something people were expecting to see. The comedic nature of this scene works if you consider how much Hancock actually wanted to change his image, only to do something that could get you cancelled in pretty much any era. Oh, yeah, and one more thing. That blonde was actually bullying a kid named Aaron, so it's a double crime. Plus, he did warn you, bro. What do you think was going to happen if you kept calling him something that clearly ticks him off? Man, can you even imagine what Will Smith would have done if that kid said something about his wife? Yeah, that wouldn't have been a pleasant sight, even in an R-rated flick.
Stop crying, punk ass. Go ahead.
How about that Spider-Man? Last night on the Manhattan Bridge, he saved a dozen lives. We want to hear your calls.
I think without Spider-Man, there'd be no hope for this thing.
There's a reason there are at least some people like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and a lot of that has to do with how involved he is, even with the most innocuous of crimes. Granted, that term doesn't define bullying properly, but it was meant to be a more general statement, you know. Now, when it comes to little Jorge's case, I think it's the most wholesome act I've ever seen Peter Parker participating in. He doesn't need to do anything, he just stands in front of the bullies and gets the job done. You know, some of those bullies probably looked up to Spider-Man as well, so to see him quietly disapprove of what they did probably made them think twice about bullying others again. See, this is why he's called your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But yeah, I want to point out again that the way he helps Jorge fix his invention was such a pure act. It's stuff like this that makes you feel good about the world, you know?
Oh, what a day.
I know, it's all a bit much, isn't it?
And then you've got those wise guys on TV who want Spider-Man off the street so the cops can do their job. When I heard them say this, all I could think of was, what job, bro?
This is a wind turbine. You made this? No way. This is amazing. It's good as new, right? I'll walk you home.
Oh, shit!
Way to touch the floor, Brian.
Hey, knock it off! You okay, bud? Damn it, Caitlin, give him a hand up.
Okay, so this scene actually transfers the status of bully to the initial victim, but the TV Regent likes to work on a first-come, first-served basis, so I'm identifying Brandon as the target. It's just supposed to be a trust-building exercise at first, but Caitlin has other plans as she tries to damage Brandon's character after blatantly letting him fall on the ground. I guess you could say she activated his inner Bully Maguire, with the only difference being he crushed her hand instead of putting some dirt in her eye. It could also be that Brandon has a crush on Caitlin. Get it? Because he crushes her hand? Alright, that's probably in bad taste, that one. But anyway, listen, I just realised something. Brandon is the son that Homelander would have wished for, and Superman is the father that Ryan always needed. There's something I don't get though. Why do parents always pin it down to the culprits being just kids? Like, did you not just hear that your 12-year-old son crushed his classmate's hand as if it was nothing? Even the most athletic man on the planet wouldn't be able to pull that off without putting in a visible effort.
What are you doing?
Brandon!
Let go! Stop it!
I pulled it out of the back of a grizzly. Whoever shot it didn't have the wind or the balls to track the animal properly and put it out of its misery.
The Wolverine may be a savage, but he doesn't like it when bullies try to act smart with nature. Take those bear hunters, for example, from 2013's The Wolverine. Those guys were clearly playing dirty when it came to spiking their arrows with poison to torture the poor bears. Come on, at least be fair if you're going to do something unethical, yeah? These hunters were the sassiest bullies you could find. What they did actually caused the bears to go crazy and end up eating 5 people. See, this is why Logan likes to stand for animal rights, as long as those animals aren't better off on his dinner plate. The way he smashes the arrow into that shameless schmuck's hand and forces him to ask where he found it was a nice touch of badass mixed with the right sprinkle of humour. Plus, I get why Wolverine would take this personally, because he has something of an animalistic look himself over here. I also love how they subtly hint at some of Logan's more animalistic abilities aside from the obvious claws. His enhanced hearing and scent being a big one, but if you also consider some of the comics, he could communicate empathetically with animals and had a strong kinship with them.
That hurt.
What are you gonna do about it, freak? Stop it! Don't freak!
Look, I know even I like to bully Arthur Curry time and time again because of the running joke that he likes to get freaky with fish. I mean, the Jeep from The Boys is basically those memes coming true in front of our eyes, although I'm not sure my eyes want to see that kind of thing. Anyway, this scene dates back to when Jason Momoa was just a simple kid getting bullied by a bunch of meanies until his shark buddy came to his rescue. See, now I wouldn't mind a Jaws movie where the shark helps kids overcome their bullies. Unfortunately, this sequence is probably the closest we'll ever get to that. The way that shark was going at that glass, it was almost as if he was trying to tell those kids, bully my bro once more and I'll make sure you guys are next on the seafood menu. Yeah, and that final shot with all the other marine life lining up behind Aqua Kid was pretty damn amazing. Plus, with those glowing eyes, you just knew he meant business. Well, I suppose Arthur finally decided to fight back against his bullies in the meme world as well. Good on you, bro.
Bad guy! Hello, kitty!
The TV Regent is a huge fan of poultry dishes, but when it comes to Venom, I think he prefers the brains of humans, especially those of bullies. This sequence from the sequel was pretty hilarious, but also showcased Venom saving an innocent lady from an attacker. Yeah, it sure doesn't look like she needed any help, considering she was twice the guy's size, but it's just like Venom tells Eddie she didn't know she needed our help.
She didn't want our help.
She did not know she needed our help, Eddie. There is a difference.
It's always better to be safe than sorry, which is why the alien symbiote made sure to terrorize that poor attacker to the extent they might have joined priesthood or something, having escaped becoming dinner. Which brings me to my next point. How on earth was Venom able to control his hunger when he had a meal right in front of him? Now you put a nice juicy steak in front of me, and I can guarantee you it'll be gone in all of 30 business seconds. Shout out to that bowling line. Venom's a savage when it comes to his food. Also, why was that woman not reacting to Venom like any other normal human would? She's just looking at him like, yeah, that's my homie. Perhaps.
I shall remove your head.
No, you won't.
I will use it for bowling.
No, you will not.
I will take it too. What is the one that we liked, Eddie?
It's Lucky Strike.
Beat it. You need to make some new friends, okay? Let's get out of here.
Normally, we're used to seeing youngsters offering their help and support to the elderly, but this is a complete Uno reverse kind of situation, with Joe saving Sam from Reza and his gang in a nicely choreographed fight scene. Joe is clearly unaffected during the whole battle, so it comes as no surprise that he wins it with ease. But I also want to shout out the chase scene that precedes this one. In all honesty, Samaritan is a good movie, and I hope they do go ahead with a sequel, because we need to see more of Sylvester Stallone showing young kids the right way forward in life. Man, I've got to say, that Reza dude really rubbed me the wrong way. It's almost as if the actor genuinely wanted us to hate him. Well, I'll tell you what, he got me, that's for sure. Also, I know I might be spoiling the movie if you haven't watched it, but to learn that Joe actually used to be a villain makes this scene hit even harder. This is a man who used to be a bully on a much larger scale before, and here he is, fully reformed and wanting to make sure he can make the world a better place through his corrective actions. A good Samaritan indeed.
Oh my God!
Come on, fight back. Get up, Kent.
Remember the Brightburn entry I showed you earlier? Yeah, thank freaking God that Kal-El didn't get those guys as his parents. There's a lot to be said about the way that Superman was raised, and this bullying scene is indicative of that. Sure, the bullies don't get beaten down or anything like that, but this sequence aims to teach us an all-important lesson. True power lies in the hands of those who know how to hold back. Now, if Clark Kent were to let loose on those kids, we'd pretty much get what Brandon did to Caitlin, but no. His dad raised him to be a good man, and he also makes his presence known to the bullies so they know to step away and get lost. We could clearly see that Clark was unharmed, and the way he bent that gate's pole, it's safe to say he was holding back a lot of anger. When Mr. Kent asks him if he's fine, he was right to point out that he wasn't referring to physical pain.
Did it hurt you?
You know they can't.
That's not what I meant.
Some of the lines in this film are seriously good, man. The part where Clark is told he's going to change the world regardless of whether he turns good or bad, that hits me the hardest. This is better parenting advice than half the kids have access to nowadays.
You just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark, because whoever that man is, good character or bad, he's going to change the world.
Did you know that there are 27 bones in the human hand? Allow me to introduce the phalanges.
The wave of this movie's meme impact may have passed, but that doesn't mean I can't remind you about it. Now, technically speaking, this scene points to Morbius being the bully, but in his defense, a weapon does get pulled on him first, which is why he decides it's Morbin time. No, I'm just kidding, okay? He doesn't transform into his vampire avatar, but he does give a sneak peek, almost as if he's Venom or something.
Who the hell are you, man?
Me? I am Venom.
I gotta say, Morbius may not be the best at building a strong franchise for Sony, but he does know how to steal a lab and make it his own within all of 1 business minute. The most impressive thing about this scene was the way our favourite vampire breaks the bones in that poor dude's hand and also gives him a quick science lesson on what he's doing to him. It's ruthless, badass, and once again, does make it look as if Morbius is the bully here, but his fighting actions are only a response to the threat that was issued to him. Oh, I also want to point out as well that his main victim doesn't even react much to the split second where he sees Morbius in his true form. I guess he figured he was already up against a badass, so there's no need to focus on the literal monster living inside him.
6 to 8 weeks, a little ibuprofen, it'll heal up just fine.
Why don't you cut this little act and do something? Why don't you stop me, huh? You gonna stop?
How old are you, 5?
No matter if he's a star athlete or a popular character from Stranger Things, Darcy Montgomery still had to do detention, but at least he made it count with class and sass. Seeing the resident detention bully picking on Billy isn't what Jason Scott had in mind, so he makes sure to assert dominance by not punching or smacking the bully, but rather by blatantly slapping him in front of a live audience. Man, that had to sting, and I don't mean in terms of physical pain. The method may have been a bit extreme, but it was effective, and it sure caught the attention of Kimberly, which in itself should have been worth the effort. Okay, seriously speaking though, Jason's heroic act here can be interpreted as his first Power Ranger level task. Also, I suppose the name Billy is very special to Mr. Darcy, so he wanted to make sure nobody would mess with him. Can you imagine how things would have gone if Jason told the bully, "I'm gonna send you to the upside down"? Actually, that would have been a copyright issue, which wouldn't apply to Krispy Kreme because they may as well have funded this entire film with all the branding they put everywhere.
Hi, I'm Jason. It's my first time here. It's exciting. And you must be the bully of detention. How dumb can you be?
I made a promise that I'm not gonna fight.
Oh, don't worry, it won't be a fight. It'll be a massacre.
Missed.
What they did to a legendary franchise like Dragon Ball Z with this pathetic abomination of a film, I'll never forgive it, you know. The only redeemable thing about the people who made this movie was the apology lead actor Justin Chatwin gave us fans when the legend Akira Toriyama passed away. It turns out that the only scene I like from this movie involves him, although that shouldn't come as a surprise, I mean, considering he's playing Goku. The art of fighting without even landing a punch has got to be studied because that's what makes this battle so damn interesting. Goku doesn't let any of these dudes even touch him as he keeps dodging attacks that somehow land on other ops. That final sequence where the car gets wrecked was particularly hilarious. Like, bro, you know he's going to keep redirecting your swings to the car. Why are you not stopping? Goku does create a scene here with the bullies even though he's not being violent at all, but I guess it's worth the effort if it gets Chi-Chi to look at you like that. Yeah, discovering Jamie Chung was probably the only good thing that happened for me after I watched this movie.
Where's the crown?
I know the bad guys as side characters aren't supposed to be the smartest in the room, but man, these guys, they're dumb AF. Like, did you miss the part where Black Adam took all your bullets as if he was just catching flies? Or the part where you smacked his head with your stick, only for the stick to get bent by the Rock's bald head? Or how about that Mexican standoff, which has got to be the most hilarious part of this scene? After emptying the M4 and realizing that his opponent is bulletproof, the guy just went like, yeah, I'll just fall back to my trusty sidearm, that should do the trick. I'll admit though that using his lightning attacks as his version of a gun was a pretty badass move on Black Adam's part. That shot where the sniper watches him flying towards him through the scope was really cool as well. As expected, Black Adam's obviously doing the right thing here by saving the kid and his mom, but I'm sure he would have been expecting the humans to put up a better fight. Also, props to the kid for calling him out and showing up later than expected.
Tell them the men in black sent you.
Well, yes, but not to me. Say it to the bad guys. But before you zap them.
Catchphrase, then kill.
Yes.
I think I'll probably just leave when I'm good and ready.
Kal-El is a supreme being, which is why having him kick off my top 10 almost feels like a religious experience. Of course, before he learned his origins, how to fly, or the very fact that he's Superman, Clark Kent was doing an honest man's job at a bar. Now this is usually a place where you'll find all kinds of bullies, and in this case we see one of the worst kind. It's never cool for anyone to harass the waitress serving you, and Clark knows that better than anyone, so he does what any normal man would do. Of course, things get ugly, but credit goes to Superman for controlling his anger perfectly well, only to unleash it later on that creep's truck. This is an instant callback to the earlier scene I covered when he was a kid. You can see his dad's teachings coming into play immediately, and that's why this is such a great moment. Also, if I fall back after punching someone, I should just sit the heck down. Of course, that fool was drunk, so he didn't get the memo. If you think about it, Superman actually saved the bully from drinking and driving by absolutely demolishing his truck. Even in revenge, Clark is a certified good boy. Man, no one should have to go through what Magneto went through as Michael Fassbender. It's just one bad thing after another for the poor guy, and the scene where Sebastian Shaw has his mother executed is one of the coldest and most heartbreaking sequences I've ever watched. I won't go into the details because I don't want to cry out a waterfall. What I will say is that Eric's instant revenge was quite brutal. Yeah, he doesn't get Shaw immediately, but he does demolish the other soldiers by crushing their heads with their own helmets, so that's pretty badass. Also, Magneto gets his revenge later on in the movie when he passes the same coin through Shaw's head after Professor X freezes him. So yeah, it's safe to say that all the bullies got what they deserved. Also, here's some trivia for you. That coin is a 5 Reichsmark model, which was 90% silver. As a result, it has a weak magnetic signature, which meant that Eric wouldn't have been able to move it in any case, since he didn't have control over his powers at the time. Shaw really toyed with the boy, only to take everything away from him moments after. Yeah, I don't feel any sadness for the way he got ended.
What are you gonna do? Go home and cry to mommy?
Oh yeah, you don't have a mommy.
Hey!
Shazam, in a lot of ways, can be seen as the DC Universe's Guardians of the Galaxy. Sure, it didn't make as much money as that franchise, but it did rejuvenate the DC brand after a slew of disappointing flicks. Now, the movie is generally directed from a comedic standpoint, but there is a bully problem in the story, so I'm glad it got addressed in a rather satisfying manner. Seeing Freddy getting targeted by those weirdos wasn't pleasing to watch, especially when you consider the fact he's a disabled foster child. Like, what is wrong with you guys? Have some chill when you choose your victims. Anyway, it was good to see Billy and the gang stepping up for him. Also, kudos to Freddy for flipping them off even as he was getting beaten up. Sure, it didn't really come off the way we would have wanted it to, especially with that nunchaku fail towards the end, but at least they got some licks in. Also, the Shazam powers come into play later when the bullies lose their car in the most hilarious way possible. So yeah, I'd say they totally deserve that shocker of a realization. Try explaining that to the insurance guys, you jerks.
I don't think that's gonna buff out.
In the case of some of the earlier bullies, I can say they totally deserved what came to them. However, in the case of Talbot, I'd say he was just an idiot who had no idea what he was getting into when he started attacking Bruce Banner. Even after repeated warnings, the man just wouldn't stop.
Talbot, yeah? You're making me angry. Oh, am I?
So when he does get tossed away like a dog's chew toy after Banner turns into the Hulk, the only thing that comes to mind is, yeah buddy, we warned you. Man, this is the Hulk we needed in the MCU. He wouldn't have turned into some softie who likes taking selfies. Also, I like how this Hulk keeps growing in size the angrier he gets. I'd say some of the annoyance in this particular transformation had to come from the fact that Talbot was being an idiot more than anything else.
Oh, God!
There's nothing more satisfying than getting back at the dude who bullied you in front of your girl. However, I don't think anyone was expecting to see Superman in this position back in 1980. Yeah, I know the whole deal with the loss of his powers and all of that, but come on, that's no way to disrespect the Man of Steel. That too, with Lois Lane in attendance. Luckily, Kal-El does get his powers back, and how? The savage manner in which he violates the bully by calling him garbage was top-class stuff.
Gee, that's funny. Never seen garbage eat garbage before.
As a matter of fact, the whole process was a delight to watch. Our man vandalizes the bar, humiliates the lumberjack, and and pays for the damages like a total boss. I was hoping for a punch or something, but that would have been more of a lethal situation.
I'm terribly sorry about all the damage, sir.
All right? How about that?
Yeah, the title of this entry is sarcasm if you didn't get it off the bat. Flash Thompson is a certified bully boy, and he needed to be stopped, which is why Peter Parker owning him in that basketball showdown was the kind of dominance that we needed to see. However, maybe our boy could have taken it easier with the powers, because anyone with half a brain would be able to connect the dots between him and Spider-Man. Like, come on, Nerd Boy catches ball without looking at it, manages to hold onto said ball with one hand, while a dude like Flash is using his full strength to grab it, and then jumps insanely high to break a backboard. Everyone in the school next week? Oh, I wonder who Spider-Man is. Also, why was that bullied girl painting literally inside the basketball court? I'm gonna be honest here, she was at fault too.
Just take it. All right, how about this?
Just because a dude's dying a slow and painful death due to the same weapons that made him so powerful to begin with, doesn't mean he can't fight. Those gang members found this out rather unfortunately when they locked horns with Logan in the opening scene of this movie. Yeah, it's not a dominating victory by Logan, but he still gives all of those bullies a piece of his mind and his claws. It just goes on to show why you shouldn't take someone lightly regardless of their appearance. But yes, this is indeed the kind of violence that suits Wolverine as a character. Those PG-13 films just wouldn't cut it. Pun intended. Well, Arnold's the one who's asking for trouble here, but just like the Morbius scene, he gets attacked first, so that automatically qualifies as a bullying attempt. Plus, if you consider the fact that everyone's mocking him for being naked in a public space, then he's definitely the victim of bullying. Be serious, the man's from Europe. Nudism is a thing over there. Anyway, the blatant robbery he commits by taking that poor dude's clothes, boots and motorcycle was top-notch role reversal, and also led to the Terminator's most iconic look. I wonder what would have happened if Arnold just said please first. Maybe he wouldn't have had to resort to such violence then.
Think you're pretty funny, don't you, freak?
Flash, it was just an accident.
My fist breaking your teeth, that's the accident.
Come on, Flash, stop.
I don't want to fight you, Flash.
Ah yes, how can we not include such a memorable moment from such a memorable film? Tobey Maguire will always remain the OG Spider-Man to us real fans, and this encounter with Flash Thompson is one of the many reasons why I say that. Bro doesn't need to put in any effort until he realizes that he also has to fight back to end the battle. One Spidey punch later and game over. I've said it before and I'll say it again. How can those kids be mad at Peter Parker for literally defending himself against a dude who would have done a lot worse if he wasn't up against Spider-Man? I suppose it was supposed to be a statement on society or whatever, but hey, at least Harry Osborn was rooting for his buddy, right?
The hell are you supposed to be?
Those thugs from the Batman clearly didn't see all those TikToks about what the Dark Knight does to people who break the law now, did they? Bullying a passenger was not cool at all, which is why Bruce Wayne decided to emerge from the shadows, which were just as dark as his eyeliner. Damn it. I know, I always gotta say something about that, don't I? Anyway, the thrashing Batman hands out right after is actually a lot worse than what any bully would normally hash out. Point remains that the intensity on display sparked off the wave of memes and videos that I ironically mentioned at the beginning of this entry. When you've got the whole world imitating you, the #1 slot should be a given. Hope you liked the video, please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that I know you're going to enjoy.